And if you're a shaman, you'll just never struggle to get a group, honestly. You're the most overworked, overloved, and over-invited player in the game. So every man has a few very important worries in life. Finding the right woman, wondering if you're going bald, and of course asking yourself why your testicles seem to be slowly migrating away from your body like a pair of depressed geese. But above all that, there's one question that truly keeps us up all night, and it's, is my class for TBC Classic Anniversary going to be absolute wank? And to be fair, that's a very legitimate concern, because when we play World of Warcraft, we want to actually get invited to groups and not end up like that one kid at school whose braces were so big he looked like some kind of prototype cyborg eating lunch on his own. Nobody wants to be that guy. Now, I played TBC Classic from start to finish. I raided in casual guilds, I raided in sweaty guilds, I wiped on my route over 150 times to the point where my guild actually disbanded from sheer emotional trauma. And then I joined another guild who wiped another 100 times, and we finally finished somewhere. So yeah, you know, I've been there. I've got the TBC Classic t-shirt, and probably still some PTSD from Brutalis Cleaves. So now it's time to go class by class and give you a realistic reality check of what to expect. You know, what is your role? How does your performance actually look and hold up over time? And, you know, will you be hating your class more than visiting your girlfriend's parents for a Sunday roast? Trust me, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to get to the bottom of it after these thrilling messages.
For thousands of years, every member of humankind has endeavoured the same arduous task. A twilight duel between man and mattress. At the dawn of time, humans relied on the darkness of caves and piles of straw and cow dung and chicken feathers and more straw.
You know, it's much easier to sleep in the dark, but I could deal without rain dropping from the ceiling and the rats in the morning, like particularly the rats.
Well, why don't you just buy a manta sleeping mask? You can sleep in total utter darkness wherever you want, plus they're made out of very soft, breathable materials but incredibly comfy even for the most notorious side sleepers with weirdly shaped heads.
You mean I don't need to sleep in cow poo anymore thanks to Manta's various sleeping mask options, and I get a cheeky 10% discount if I use the code MetaGoblin on checkout?
Exactly, just ask Ted. He's been using it for 59 days now and he's decided to keep the mask, it's so good, rather than sending it back for his money back.
Hi, I'm Ted. So the sleeping mask has been great for me personally, as I lost my eyelids in a freak sourdough accident, so yeah.
So whether you're a caveman, commuter, or someone who regularly likes gaming into the early hours of the morning, let Manta aid you into unconsciousness. So we'll go in alphabetical order, starting with the Druid. Now, the advantage of playing a Druid is that you can technically have 4 specs to play with, which is perfect if you enjoy a sort of like identity crisis every patch cycle. The good news, you'll always get a raid spot one way or another. Now, let's start with the DPS specs. Honestly, you can't really treat Feral or Balance as pure DPS specs. They're more like enthusiastic support specs. They get a golden sticker for trying, okay? Think of them as that friend who insists on helping you move house but mostly just carries one box and eats all of your biscuits. Realistically, there's a middle to the bottom of the pack for damage. You're not going to come close to the Warlocks or Hunters. Feral can occasionally scrape into respectable on certain fights, but generally you'll never bring more than one Feral or one Balanced Druid to a raid. And when you're playing Feral, you literally need to get Carpal Tunnel in order to basically do mid DPS. Their main value really is their buffs. Feral boost a melee DPS of that juicy 5% crit aura, and Boomkins do the same for the caster group. You're there to make everyone else look better, kind of like the bassist in a pop pump. Pump, 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 pump. Tung, 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 sahur. A bassist. Look, honestly, any kind of f***ing bassist in any band, let's be real. That's what the joke is, okay? We'll carry on. Feral tanks, on the other hand, are genuinely excellent. So they have the biggest HP pool and insane threat generation, but they really lack the defensive cooldowns of other tanks and AoE threat tools. But the thing is, you'll always get a raid spot as a bear because your threat's mental and your HP pool looks like it's been on steroids. Resto Druids are fantastic tank healers thanks to like life bloom rolling. They're not exactly the best AoE healers, and no one's going to stack 6 of them, but they're steady, they're reliable, and you get combat res. And that's huge, especially for more casual raid groups where people occasionally decide to, you know, stand in fire as some kind of personality trait. It's less useful in hardcore passing guilds where nobody ever dies and everyone's clinically addicted to Warcraft logs, but still, it is a literal lifesaver. Now, the Hunter, let's be honest, is an absolute god tier class in TBC Classic. You look at any old logs, they're right up there with the Warlocks and Warriors, absolutely defiling the meters in Beast Mastery spec. But every rose has its thorn, and in this case, the thorn has been told by your raid leader that, right mate, you need to respec survival for the buff, okay, and that might be the reality for you. So instead of doing godlike DPS, you become that Hunter, the one providing exposed weakness, a lovely little debuff that boosts everyone else's attack power based on your agility. So yes, top guilds will bring a survival hunter later on purely for that reason, but from start to finish, hunters are just comfortably S tier, and to be honest, survival DPS isn't exactly that bad either. You're strong in every phase, you scale brilliantly, and even if you're half asleep eating a pot noodle, you still do decent DPS. By the way guys, if you're looking to level up and get caught up for the launch of TBC Classic, the fastest leveling add-on in existence has to be Rest XP. Please check out the link in the description. Download Rest XP on Curse Client if you don't believe me. Now, the Mage is an interesting one. They can be top tier DPS in Arcane spec, but only under very specific borderline bougie conditions, okay? You really are like a prima donna in Arcane spec, okay? First, you need excellent gear, loads of mana and regen. Second, you need the perfect group setup, ideally a Shadow Priest, maybe an Ellie Shaman, and a friendly druid willing to sneak you and innovate when nobody's looking. And third, you need your raid to actually kill things quickly, because on longer fights, especially more casual guilds, you're going to run out of mana faster than your dad's patience on Christmas Day. And there's nothing worse than just standing there, you know, thumb up your ass, wanding the boss like it's 2005 and you're taking down Raggy. So yeah, Arcane Mage absolutely slaps in the right hands and in the right guild, but if your team wipes every 5 minutes, and the fights are very long for your raid group, and maybe stick to fire spec, and at least you have mana left to like cry with. FYI guys, if you found the video useful so far, you'll also find my optimal prequest route for the TBC launch also useful. It's going to be ready quite soon. I'm being cheeky, I'm just asking you guys to subscribe to the channel, to check out my subscriber only video to get access to it, so be sure to do that after the video. I'll do it right now. Now, the Paladin is where things get a bit spicy in TBC. You know, Protection was the big winner, the glow up of the expansion, because they were just absolutely just terrible in vanilla. Once you get enough spell power, you become an AoE threat god. You'll hoover up mobs like a divine Dyson and become the most desired tank for any boss with ads or for farming dungeon rep until your eyes bleed. You're not quite the best main tank, Warriors still edge it there, but you're more than capable and everyone wants one. Holy Paladins, well, unfortunately, they didn't really get that much new stuff. They're basically the same as the Iron Vanilla, single target healers with 0 AoE, but they bring all those juicy buffs. You're the tank's best friend, like a slightly neurotic emotional support angel or something. And then there's Ret. Look, Ret Paladin are the definition of fine. Middle of the pack DPS, solid enough utility, but their big raid buff, Sanctity Aurea, is just a bit daft. I mean, it only buffs holy damage. So unless your raid is 80% Ret Paladins and a couple of Smite Priests who hate themselves, no one's exactly raving about that 10% more holy damage. I mean, a prop Paladin benefits from it a little bit, I suppose. So yeah, play Ret if you enjoy being spiritually fulfilled but numerically irrelevant. Now, Shadow Priest, when you're clearing tier 4 content in, you know, bin bag worth gear, you'll feel amazing, okay? Top of the meters, absolute menace. You'll think, wow, I'm cracked. This spec is amazing. This is going to be the top tier DPS of the expansion, and then it's over. That's your one brief, shining moment on Mag Faradon. Enjoy, you know, spreading all your dots and stuff like that. Enjoy it, frame it, move on. It's never coming again, because Shadow Priest's real role, really, isn't about top of the meter. It's about, making everyone else perform better. You're basically a prototype. I don't know why I said the word prototype there. You're basically a portable espresso machine for your warlocks, pumping in with caffeine and ego. They love you, they need you, but they're never gonna respect you, okay? That said, priests alongside shaman are easily the best support class in TBC. Always wanted, always needed, and conveniently had anyone ever plays them, so you'll feel very special and find it very easy to find groups. Now for healing, most will go holy, and for good reason. They're arguably the best healer in the game. Circle of Healing is probably the best AoE heal in TBC, and you've got really strong hots, big single target heals, and all the juicy raid buffs. In other words, you're the glue holding 24 idiots together. Hardcore guilds sometimes experiment with discipline for power infusion, which gives casters a little bit more oomph. Though can't really remember whether they kind of removed that from Warcraft logs and didn't count it halfway through TBC cycle. I feel like they did, because people were absolutely cheesing the meters of it. So let me know in the comment section. The Rogue is technically a pure DPS class, who mostly exists to remind everyone how much better Warlocks are. Realistically, you're bottom of the pure DPS pack. You don't bring any fancy buffs or debuffs that really justify talking about. So if you're in a real raid utility, you bring is the occasional interrupt and maybe a stun if you're feeling cheeky. It's very niche, very situational. You'll probably struggle to get into pugs, to be honest, but if you do find a good guild that wants a rogue, you'll absolutely hoover up all that DPS loot, the leather DPS gear. You gear up fast, mainly because everyone else has moved on to playing Warlocks and Hunters. So, honestly, if you're playing Rogue and TBC, do yourself a favour. My advice is always to get the most out of the expansion, play a bit of PvP, because that's where the class really, really does shine. You delete people before they can even Alt F4. In PvE, though, you're basically that 15-year-old kid on work experience. Now, the Shaman really is the Swiss Army knife of TBC. As a DPS, you'll sit somewhere in the middle of the pack, but your totems are so disgustingly good that they're basically indispensable, okay? Elemental starts off strong in tier 4 and then kind of drifts a bit. You'll have that, friend who peaked in high school. Still, Totem of Wrath is cracked, so you'll always get a spot. Enhancement gets better when you have more melee DPS in the guild, which will happen later on into TBC, and that's basically thanks to Windfury Totem, which just basically turns all the warriors into a chainsaw. Resto Shaman, absolute royalty healer, insane utility, chain heal that splashes harder than a cannonball in a paddling pool. You boost tank armor, earth shield to keep the tank alive, and of course you've got Bloodlust and Heroism. Honestly, Priest, Shaman, definitely the best healers of this expansion. Now remember, in TBC, Bloodlust is party only, so raids will bring sometimes 4 to 6 shamans just to chain those sweet lusts. And if you're a shaman, you'll just never struggle to get a group, honestly. You're the most overworked, overloved, and over-invited player in the game. And the true king of TBC has to be the Warlock. Top DPS in almost every phase, single target's insane, AoE's just utter carnage, Seed of Corruption turns every pull into a Michael Bay movie, you'll see raids running 4 Warlocks, maybe even more. It's ridiculous, for overplayed, overpowered, and absolutely everywhere. But the thing is, you still need quite a few of them for your raid group, so to be honest, I play Warlock and TBC, never struggled to find a group, never struggled to find a guild, to be honest, even if they are an overplayed class. I mean, even if half of your server is made up of like emo-themed warlocks called Soul Reaper, you're gonna get a raid group. Just because they're so good. And if somehow you mess up on the meters and you're low on the meters, you can just say it's resist RNG and gaslight everyone into believing it. Warriors are right up there with Hunters and Warlocks, honestly. The holy trinity of please calm down DPS. These 3 specs constantly outshine each other depending on the fight. Warriors absolutely thrive on burst cleave damage. If adds die quickly, the warrior's your man, but a poor warlock still winding up his Seed of Corruption. The only catch is, the same story as always really, warriors need gear, and lots of it. The Hunter and Warlock come into tier 4 ready to go, hot, easy, instant like a microwave meal. But the warrior's like a proper Sunday roast. It takes a while to, cook it well. It needs a bit of care, but when it's done right, absolutely glorious. Best thing on the play. And to be honest, I think it's the most fun class by a country mile to play in TBC. And a prot warrior, we've already talked about a prot warrior, really. Best main tank in the game. Great cooldowns, great everything, really. And there you have it. Every class in TBC Classic, the good, the bad, and the downright wank. Whether you're a warlock setting things on fire, a shaman smashing your keyboard for bloodlust timings, or a balanced druid quietly pretending that your DPS matters, just remember, in the end, every class is viable, as long as you're not dead. Okay? If you spend half the raid face down in a fire patch, it's not your spec that's the problem, it's your brain cells. You know, just pick what you want to play at the end of the day, because whether you're planning on pumping the meters or pumping yourself full of regret after rolling Retribution, it's all part of a TBC experience. Now, I'm off to, what am I off to do? I'm off to feed this little shit, so, yeah. My name is MetaGoblin. To my next video. Smile properly. You're not on camera there. There you go. My name is MetaGoblin. To my next video. Ciao.